Okay, in this lecture, we're going to start with introducing the skeletal system. And so we'll start with Chapter 6, Section 1. Something to keep in mind when we talk about developing all of our bones in our body is that initially in a fetus, our entire human skeleton is made of just cartilage and some fibrous membranes. Skeletal cartilage is a highly resilient um, tissue, meaning that it can spring back into its shape if it's compressed, and it consists primarily of water. Another thing to keep in mind is a lot of the connective tissues that we talked about in the tissue chapter, they did contain blood vessels and nerves, but one of the exceptions to that was cartilage. So in cartilage, even though it is a connective tissue, it does not have any blood vessels or nerves. So how does it get all of its nutrients and everything else that it needs to grow? And that's from the outer membrane that's called the perichondrium. So this is just a layer of dense connective tissue surrounding the cartilage, and it's going to help with resisting outward expansion. So again, if we compress it, that we don't expand it too far. And also it's going to have the blood vessels so that we can deliver nutrients to the cartilage so that we can grow. And just as a reminder, cartilage is made up of cells that we call chondrocytes. And these chondrocytes reside in small cavities that we refer to as lacunae. So just as a review, we're going to run through our three types of cartilage again, but now you need to know where they're located in different parts of the body. So if we're looking at hyaline cartilage, this is represented everywhere that you see blue. This is the predominant cartilage that we can find in our body. What is hyaline cartilage function? It's going to provide support, be in areas where we need flexibility and some resilience as well. And just again, it's the most abundant type of cartilage that we can find. And the only fiber that we can find in hyaline cartilage are collagen fibers. So places where we can find it, again, all these places in blue. So articular areas, so areas of joints, connecting our ribs to our sternum. So our costal cartilage here, that makes up of a joint. In our respiratory area, specifically our larynx, that we can see over here, the different parts. So we have thyroid cartilage and our trachea. Those are two important respiratory organs in which we can find it. Another place we can find it is in our nose. So that's all hyaline cartilage. So moving on to the second type of cartilage we have in our body is elastic cartilage. There's only two places where we can find this. It's made of elastic fiber, so think of places where we need elasticity. So the external ear, so you can pull on that and feel some elasticity there. So, and these are represented in green, and our epiglottis. So our epiglottis is just a flap that's going to cover the opening of our larynx so that when we swallow food, the food actually goes down our esophagus and not our respiratory tract. And you'll learn more about that in AMP2. The third type of cartilage that we have is fibrocartilage, and these are found in red. We only have three places where we can find it. And again, because it's going to be present in areas where we need great tensile strength, we're going to have thicker collagen fibers here. So it's found in areas that are subject to pressure and stretch. So examples would be the meniscus of our knee, all the cartilage between each one of our vertebrae, as well as our pubic symphysis right here. Now we can talk a little bit about cartilage growth. We have two types of growth. Remember that cartilage is a flexible matrix, unlike bone. So because it's flexible, it can allow for mitosis. So when we talk about growth, we have two types. We have appositional growth and we have interstitial growth. Appositional growth is just growth on the external face. And interstitial is going to be growth from within. That's your big difference there. Now, how do we actually grow the cartilage? Well, our perichondrium, because remember that is the membrane on the outside surface of our cartilage, that's going to secrete matrix against, again, the outside of the cartilage itself. If we're talking about interstitial growth, our chondrocytes that are residing within our lacunae, they're going to secrete the matrix. So that's going to be growth from within. So again, two types of growth that we have depending on where we are secreting the new matrix. If it's on the outside of cartilage, it's appositional. and the cells come from the outer membrane, which is the perichondrium. If it's interstitial growth, it's coming from within, and the matrix is coming from the chondrocytes that are residing within the lacunae. So cartilage growth is going to end sometime during adolescence when our skeleton stops growing, period. So it's a different age depending if you're a male or a female, happens earlier for females than males. Another thing to point out is that even though we might calcify cartilage during normal bone growth, that calcified cartilage is not the same thing as bone. It's still cartilage, it's just hardened. Okay, so this is section 6.2, and all this is just reviewing is the functions of bone. So basically, one of the functions of bone is for support, so it provides the framework for our body. Another function is protection. So, for example, our brain, we have several fused bones that make up our skull. Our spinal cord is protected by our vertebrae, and we have a rib cage that's protecting the organs that are within our thorax. Another function of bones is anchorage. So we have tendons, and tendons are the things that are connecting bones to muscles. So when these tendons connect bones to muscles, we can use it as a lever for muscle action. Another one is mineral and growth factor storage, which we'll talk about later. We'll specifically focus on calcium and how bones are actually the storage bank of calcium. And it can also house some growth factors and things like that. So we can deposit excess calcium that we have in our blood into our bones, and then when our blood calcium levels are low, we can withdraw it when we need to. A fifth function is blood cell formation, which we call hematopoiesis, and this is going to occur in the red marrow cavities of certain bones that we have. We also can store fat there, especially when we get older and we stop growing. We replace a lot of that red marrow with yellow marrow, and yellow marrow is basically just fat. And we can use that fat as an energy source if we need to. The seventh way or function of bones is hormone production. We have a specific hormone called osteocalcin, and our bones can actually secrete this hormone to help regulate insulin secretion, glucose levels, and metabolism, or even energy expenditure.